Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It's The Session. I'm your host, Justin Crosley, as always, live from the Hop Grenade in Concord, California, and enjoying myself. Had a couple beers before the show, as I like to do, to get ready for my guests, who this week is Headlands Brewing Company. I guess I want to say out of Lafayette, but I think you guys aren't just out of Lafayette anymore. I've got Austin with me, I've got Ryan with me, and I've got Justin with me, the other Justin, and we're going to talk all about Headlands today. And Austin, maybe let's just clarify right now. Is it Headlands out of Lafayette now, or...?
Let's go with Headlands out of Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, okay. Because you guys have a production brewery and then the tap room, is that right?
Yeah, we just took over the old EJ Fair Brewing Company in Pittsburgh.
That's awesome.
2 months ago.
Okay. Oh, then we have a lot to talk about. I'm glad you told me that. I've got a long history with the EJ Fair folks, and some folks right here at the Brewing Network helped open that brewery too. Helped build it, brewed on it for the first time. My old producer, Shat, we called him. Okay, cool. I'm glad we get to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot more, of course, as we always do to get through the night. I'm excited to have Headlands here. I've already got one of their beers in my glass, which we'll talk about in a moment. First up, though, thanks to our sponsor, More Beer, also headquartered out in Pittsburgh, California. The folks at More Beer have been the sponsor of this show since day one, but you know that. You've been listening since day one, too. Check them out over on YouTube. They do Free Beer Friday, where my friend Chris Graham over there gives something awesome away every Friday. Sometimes it's recipes, sometimes it's cool equipment that you can't afford, or that you didn't, it's on like your wish list. So check them out. They do a good job over on their YouTube page. And of course, go to morebeer.com. Order your home brewing or professional brewing supplies, and thank them for being a sponsor of this show. A couple of updates, too. I will be streaming the Great American Beer Festival Awards Ceremony this Saturday. That's October 8th. It's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, so we're out of Denver. 8 a.m. if y'all are in... 9 a.m. if you're all in California. You guys can figure out your own Mountain Time and Pacific Time. Just go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Brewing Network. You'll find the event there. Did you guys enter into the Great American Beer Festival this year,
man.
Ryan?
It's a tough year for us with JBF. I actually went out on paternity leave.
Oh, nice.
The GABF announced entry deadlines.
Right.
And then it passed, and then I came back to work.
Okay.
And so I came back, and I was like, oh,
missed that.
Yeah, so we did miss GABF boat this year.
Almost every brewery I've had in here skips years, either intentionally or not intentionally. So no harm done there. But I will be bummed if I don't get to cheer for you guys.
Unfortunately, no cheering this year at GABF.
Well, go to our YouTube page /Brewing Network and check it out, because we are bringing the awards. I think we've been doing it now for, oh my God, like 15 years or something. We've been streaming, not always video. It started out when video streaming barely existed, so we would do audio for them.
Oh shit!
And it's now evolved into video. And I'm always proud that breweries who don't get to attend the event but have entered get to turn it on at the brewery at home and celebrate their win. So I'd be happy if you all tuned in for that. It should be another great year. And then I also wanted to mention, we brought it up on our last show, but our first ever Hop Grenade Pale Ale Fest is happening here at the Hop Grenade on Saturday, November 5th. You know how the Bistro does IPA Fest and Double IPA Fest? And I love those guys. Vic's been a friend and a mentor of mine since we started. And I called him and I was like, hey, I'm stealing your format. And we totally want to do a Pale Ale Fest, because it's almost everybody here at the Hop Grenade's favorite style. Even after all these years.
Oh, geez. Austin's poking me.
Is it you too, Ryan?
No, he's been bugging me for a pale ale since I started.
So, and I think we're going to talk a lot about lagers tonight. To me, lagers are coming back in force, and we can talk about sort of consumer demographic and why we think that is. Lagers should have come back years ago, because all of us brewers, I say us, but all of you brewers love them. But the consumers weren't ready. But now consumers are like, oh, it's so filling. Everything's so filling, and so I feel like lagers get to blossom now. Well, I feel like pale ale gets to live in this zone. Sounds obvious, but between IPAs and lagers, where you brewers get to mess with new school hops in an American pale ale, but it's still on the lighter side, which is why we've always loved it here at the Brewing Network and the Hop Grenade. So we decided to dedicate an entire beer festival, small beer festival, albeit, to the American pale ale. So that's on Saturday, November 5th. Tickets will be on sale soon. You can go to thehopgrenade.com as well as thebrewingnetwork.com and find out details for that. But we're going bistro style. And right now we have plans to judge it by professionals. Like there's going to be awards for it too.
Okay.
But we might drop that for year one and just do People's Choice. What do you think about that? Is that okay to just do People's Choice?
Oh man, brewers may hate me for this. I love it. Just do it. It's your first year.
Yeah.
You're going to get the pass for it, and have there just be one reigning champion.
So that's kind of what I was thinking. And I don't want to. I want to not screw up everything else, right?
Or so I have a lot of love for the Bistro Fest, but people know who judge down there too.
Right.
So great brewers, they kind of curve fit. They're like, oh, but I know they like this, and I know.
Right.
So if you keep it pro, don't tell anyone who your panel is.
Well, not only will I not do that, I guess I'll do, but I'm doing a different panel. Like at first I thought, because Vic doesn't mind if I steal all his ideas, he's so nice. At first I thought I'm going to steal all their judges, but then I thought, no, new judges.
They've got great judges.
New people. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I know a bunch of those guys.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, new judges, let's just get something different in that sense. But then I started looking at how I'm going to get through. I think we're going to have like 30-something pale
And
ales.
stewarding it and all of it.
Yeah, all on the day, right?
People's choice.
So I think I might just go.
Year one.
There we go. Year one. Like you said, I get a pass year one, right?
I give you a pass year one.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth.
That's worth a lot to me. I'll take it. All right. So that'll be Hop Grenade Pale Ale Fest, Saturday, November 5th. Mark your calendars now, please, and come hang out with us on that day. Other than that, the last pieces of business I have to take care of is if you want to support the Brewing Network, you can still do that. Hit the donate button on our homepage. You can donate one time or you can do a recurring donation. And you know who you are out there. Those of you who've been doing it for years and years, it's the reason that we're still here. So thank you so much for doing that. If you don't have any extra cash, that's all right. Do your Amazon shopping like you normally do. I know you're all on Amazon anyway. Just click the Amazon link on our homepage. And I think once you do it, you're like locked in. You can do it like once. And then I'm not like spying on your purchases or anything. Don't worry. But it helps us out. We get a little bit out of you doing that. The other thing you can do is just support our sponsors like More Beer, like the 21st Amendment, like Blickman Engineering, like Beersmith, like Williams Brewing. You can go and just support all those folks, and that's just a great way to help us out too. So please do that, and thank you to all of you who have supported the Brewing Network. All right, let's dive right back into this. Right now, I have a Bohemian Pilsner in my glass from Headlands Brewing Company, and it's called Point Bonita Bohemian Pils, right? Let's start with the name. You guys like to name things. You're a very local-centric company, and I think a very outdoorsy company. Do I have that about right?
Yeah, very outdoor. We were founded in Marin,
right,
out in the Headlands.
The Marin Headlands, which is just a beautiful place to be outdoors, right? Okay, so tell me about St. Bonita. Where's the name from?
Yeah, Point Bonita.
Point Bonita, excuse me.
Point Bonita coming from the lighthouse. It's actually the reason I joined Headlands. Was my favorite Pilsner. I met the guys who started the company. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so we named the first three beers we made Point Bonita Pilsner, Hill 88 Double IPA, and Hawk Hill Hefeweizen, all spots in the Headlands. Okay. Now that we're more east of the Caldecott Brewery, we need to come out with some new names, but thankfully we have Justin and Ryan to help with that. But
well, there's a lot out here too. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot going on.
Hellersbach.
There's tons of. Are you from the East Bay too, Justin?
I am. Yes.
Where at? Which city? Are you from?
Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek. Okay, Walnut Creek boy, which right next to Concord here. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the fancier Concord, really.
I'm a neighbor.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, there's plenty out here to name things. So, okay, so part of the company ethos has always been part of like the land surrounding the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Founders are outdoorsy. Is that it? Like, are they hikers? What?
So Phil Cootie, who's now head brewer over at Speakeasy, and Patrick Horn, who is now running the beer program at Patagonia. They started the brewery. Typical story. Two home brewers got together, said, "Hey, let's start a brewery." And they met. Well, there's a lot of different stories that they tell me, but the story I hear that most is that they met when Phil was swimming from the Farallon Islands in under the Golden Gate, and Patrick was the guy holding the gun to shoot the shark just in case a shark showed up.
Oh my God.
Nothing showed up.
I hope this is the story.
It's between Phil and Patrick. They spend a lot of time running trails, I think I do okay if I run 5 miles. Feels
Yeah.
like I'm doing 50 or I'm doing nothing.
Wow.
And it's still the same case.
Okay.
Same story.
That's impressive, I have to say. If I run half a mile, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
It's a rough day. But I like, there's a couple other breweries over the years that we've talked to that are kind of, melded their lifestyle like that, their active lifestyle with beer, which, doesn't always seem to fit. But in my experience, every time we talk to a company like this, it really does. You get a little calories from beer and then you go burn them.
Yeah, we've always been very outdoorsy. In fact, January of this year, we joined a group called 1% for the Planet, started by the founder of Patagonia. So we give at least 1% of revenue to environmental causes.
That's amazing.
Day in, day out. So yeah, we're really leaning into that with everything that we do right now.
Did you guys, I'm sure you did you read what the Patagonia founder just did with his company?
Yeah, he's gone like 100% for the planet, not 1% for the planet.
This guy, so I've been amazed and impressed with this guy for a decade now, and he's been around longer than that. But I just started when I became an entrepreneur and just started watching what he's doing. And if folks at home, if you haven't seen this, just search Patagonia founder donates his company. I think that'll get you where you want to be. And his succession plan was to donate the entirety of the company, at least all of the proceeds, to nonprofits.
Yeah.
So instead of passing it off to his kid or even just another person to take it over, he decided all the future profits from Patagonia will go to the earth through this donation of the company to a nonprofit.
Yeah, he's really raised the bar.
Yeah.
And kudos to his kids for not wanting the
they
money.
signed on.
They signed on.
Yeah. They might not have had a choice. He's a very strong-willed person, but I think they did. They buy into the ethos that he's... It's really an impressive thing, and I think something that other corporations could really follow suit. Especially
it's inspirational.
Yeah, like if you've met your dream in life and you kind of have all the things you want, like the guy does, but his what he really wants for the world hasn't been met yet. So rather than keep all the money and pass it on, he's like, well, the work's not done.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a good guy. All right, so you guys are 1% for the planet now,
yes,
which I think is fantastic. 1% of all of your proceeds go to local. Is it local nonprofits? Or?
Yeah, it's to this point we've partnered with East Bay Regional Parks, so we've done a couple of beers with those guys where we actually have a Peace Loving Parks beer out right now on the shelf that was partnering with those guys. We've partnered with Save Mount Diablo.
Nice.
We've got a big one coming up at the end of October that we're super excited about.
Okay.
The biggest partnership we've ever done, so we can't even talk about it yet.
Oh, right.
It's pretty exciting.
Working out the details.
Yeah, all the details are worked out, but Ryan needs to package the beer.
Jeez. Justin, do you smell scoop? I don't know. I'm just a little bit.
I never get a scoop here either. So if you join 1% for the planet, it's really just a commitment on that number. You still get to choose where the money goes. Do I have that right?
100%. Yeah. We donate to the causes that they have to be signed up with the 1% for the Planet team.
Okay.
But yeah, all we really do is say we will guarantee at least 1% of proceeds to environmental causes, and that's it.
Got it. And I saw you guys did like a big Earth Day promotion in Lafayette, where even that day you gave like 10% of proceeds.
Yeah, we've done a few of those, and we'll do a few more.
Okay.
We've got one coming up with the World Wildlife Foundation as well soon, so we're going to do a few more of these.
Great.
They're fun.
All right, let's talk about the Bow Pills in our glass. Describe this beer to me.
All right, so we're talking about Point Bonita Bohemian Pilsner.
Mm-hmm.
So Czech style, Bohemian style Pilsner. But what differentiates this Bow Pills right off the bat from many others is a dash of rye. That's really influenced this beer from its inception, and it was a recipe I think originally from Phil, and really honoring the spirit in that. Keeping this beer right now is 100% Weirmann with Weirmann rye malt as well.
Interesting.
And front bittering additions with German tradition, but finishing everything after 15 minutes with Czech Satz.
Okay.
So really just a nod and like a nice solid firm bitterness. The label says 38 IBUs. I think this lot is floating a little higher, 40, 45 maybe. And I really like the kind of crisp and herbal finish that we're getting from the Satz with this Point Bow right now. So,
what do you think the rye does for it?
I think the rye gives a roundness of malt character that in a beer that is so dry makes it just complex enough to play maybe a little better with food.
Okay.
Or, a lot of great brewers love Bohemian Pils.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And rye isn't necessarily a common adjunct that you may turn as a brewer and be like, boom, that's what I'm going to do with my Bo Pils. So it's a differentiation, a deviation from the norm that helps that little bit of spiciness interplay with that Czech Satz hop finish.
Yeah.
To just stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
So
it does make it stand out. And so to me, like one of the trademarks of a Bohemian Pilsner is that kind of flowery malt character. I don't like to say fruity. To me, it's usually like herbally flowery. Obviously, like herbal from the Satz is pretty normal, but then I don't know, something about like just the delicate malt, right? And in this one, on top of that, I love the firm bitterness. In fact, I like that you described in the beginning, like Czech Pils, Bohemian Pils.
Yeah.
Like right kind of in the middle of that. And I wonder if the rye like gives you the ability to add that firm bitterness.
Well, and that retronasal too. I mean, I've been sipping on my glass. Unfortunately, my half pint's gone. It seems to happen.
Nicely done.
But it leaves this kind of retronasal and this like sustaining firmness to palate that if I had more beer in my glass, I'd actually be wanting to drink more right now. Mm-hmm. So it brings me back to the beer, which is really fun.
Yeah.
And I also think, that is why that interplay with food is pretty important. I think it couples really well with a wide variety of foods then.
Sure.
So,
yeah. I think the Germans would agree with you.
I hope so.
Part of the point. It's one of your flagship beers, right? This is always in rotation?
I think Point Bonita is our flagship. It may not be our lead seller.
Okay.
And the spirit of Headlands, to me, is embodied by Point Bonita.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your lead seller, does it describe with 3 letters like everybody else's?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's your IPA?
So no matter what anybody does, the lead seller is
no matter what you try.
The almost 99 point. It's a rare occasion that someone comes in and goes, no, it's actually our this beer.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, maybe your IPA sucks. I don't know. Because
Oh man.
But just the letters. It doesn't even matter if the beer's good sometimes. Just the letters sell it, right?
It does. I mean, look, I have a love-hate with IPAs, and I love to drink them, but I talk a lot of smack. So
sure,
maybe that'll come out here in a little bit. That's why we're gonna taste. We're gonna taste 4 lagers and then 1 IPA.
Okay, I like that. That's actually a change for this show too.
Amen.
Well, and back to what I said, I think that consumers are evolving for various reasons, for dietary reasons. Their palates are changing, right? I even think that the rise of the hazy IPA is just a precursor to lagers being loved because they gave you that sort of delicate bitterness that was now more acceptable. Mm-hmm. And now once your palate adjusted to that, like if you were a new craft beer drinker, you were like, oh, that Pilsner's really good too. It might be flowery. It might be some of those things that hazy, right?
No, I'm a fermentation nerd. So when it comes to IPA, if there's a style of IPA I love or love to hate on but still love, it is hazy IPA. I mean, you want to dive into the dynamics of biotransformation and like those beers don't exist without fermentation.
Yeah.
So that's cool to me. And I'm excited that like West Coast is coming back and there's more interest in a lot of the fun lager styles. And, even for a brief period, I joined Headlands November of last year.
Okay.
And I came in and the Lafayette Taproom Brewery was a little bit of a playground. It's a small, I'd consider it like R&D scale.
What size is the brewery?
It's a 3.5 barrel.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just big enough that if you make a really good beer, it's gone on a weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. That's kind of the goal, right? It's like, can we sell 6 or 7 kegs of this in a weekend or in 2 weeks? But I actually didn't do that. I'm like, Austin, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be a real pain in the ass. And I'm going to brew like Northern English Brown. And I'm going to brew Grisettes and Saisons and like all this crazy stuff. So the beer nerds are actually kind of coming out of the woodwork. They're like, oh, this is rad. Look at all these weird beers. Yeah. And that's what's fun about having Lafayette is we have this playground where we can really bite off anything we want to play with. Putting on like a Hellerbach,
Is that what Justin brewed? What's your favorite beer that you guys brew, or your favorite style of beer, Justin? Do you have one?
We haven't brewed it ourselves yet, but our new hazy coming up, I think, will be my favorite beer.
Okay.
See, he's the hazy specialist.
You need one.
You have to.
Yeah.
No, Justin's great. We're gonna lean on him. We're gonna pick on him pretty hard tonight.
Did you brew somewhere else before Headlands?
Yeah, I previously brewed at Heretic Brewing Co. out in Fairfield.
Oh, my dude, Jamil.
Yes, sir.
Did you like Jamil, or was he a pain in the ass?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, that's my feeling about it. I love the guy, but what a pain in the ass. I would never want to work for him.
He humbled me for sure.
Did he?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's like, okay, hotshot.
Like, yeah, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't, be the brewer I am today. So.
He does know what the hell he's doing.
Sure.
I've always given him that, but I could never work for the man.
Hey,
Yeah.
I did it for 4 years.
You
so,
did? Nah,
yeah.
good on you. So did you go straight from there to Headlands?
Yeah, so I'm from, like I said, Contra Costa County.
Okay.
I lived in Fairfield the last 15 years, and then I just recently moved back in December and was over paying for bridge toll.
Okay, yeah.
So
Good move.
I found a new home over at Headlands.
Nice.
And it's been a blast. It's been about 2 months now.
Okay.
So,
And when did you guys open Lafayette, Austin?
May of 21.
Okay. Now, let's take a quick break, because I want to figure out, because you guys for a while, I think, were self-proclaimed gypsy brewers.
So, yes.
Is that right?
That's true.
Do we still use that term? Is that?
I'm not sure, but it is kind of funny because you were talking about GABF. In 2017, we won a silver medal with our Wolfbag Ridge IPA.
Oh, yeah.
Brewed at EJ Fair in Pittsburgh.
Oh, right.
So
And now full circle.
that's full circle. Like, we're back where we probably should have been in the first place.
Oh,
So,
my gosh.
yeah, nice to have a real home.
I love that. Yeah, because so I was reading and doing my research. Of course, I've known about you guys for a while anyway. I've had your beer. In fact, here, let me ask you this before we take a break. I feel like you guys were some of the first to pioneer the 16-ounce can.
Nicely done.
Right?
When I looked at joining Headlands back in 2016, there were 3 16-ounce cans on the shelf at Whole Foods.
Ah,
Pizza Port, Modern Times, Headlands. That was it.
okay.
There's a couple more now.
Yeah, now it's ridiculous.
Two more.
Well,
Two, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Well, in pre-COVID, it was already on the rise. But once COVID hit, I mean, forget about it. I feel like Russian River's the last one that doesn't have a 16-ounce can on the shelf.
Vinny's gonna hold up forever.
My buddy,
Yeah, right.
my buddy, everybody's buddy Taylor over at Whole Foods was return every call within 3 seconds because we were one of the 3 breweries, and now try and track those guys down. They're like, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on.
That's
and by
so
the way,
funny.
Amazon owns us.
Do you right? Can you pinpoint a specific reason that you guys thought the 16-ounce can was either important or the next big thing?
If you've met Phil Cootie, yeah, Phil's like, it's going to be cans, it's going to be 16-ounce. I'm not. That's it.
That's
the
it.
proper pint. I'm not going to put anything in 12-ounce. I'm not going to put anything in a bottle.
And he's right about
we
that.
never have.
Right. Oh, you've never bottled a thing.
We did bottle a sour a couple of times.
You
but
kinda have
everything
to.
else, yeah, you kind of have to. Never put anything in a 12-ounce yet, and
right.
everything's been in a can.
So is it like 4-packs and singles on the shelf around stores for
All
Headlands?
4-packs, no 19.2s yet, or if
Interesting.
I have my way ever,
I mean-
we'll see.
19.2s are interesting to me.
They're so polarizing. I could go down a rabbit hole with that. We don't want to get into 19.
So I have a love-hate because if I really like the beer, I'm stoked that it came in a 19.2. But I'll be honest, I've had brewers come in here with their 19.2s, and I'm always like, why? What do you think?
If you really like it, you could have 32. So
That's true. Yeah. And I will. That's for sure. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Headlands, and we're going to find out about how you guys came to have your own brewery, especially the one in Pittsburgh. Hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
going to prison. You're the reason I'm going mad. You're mine, only mine. You're mine, only mine. Look and key to hide away all the things you can't explain. That they ease the pain, that they keep you sane, that they ease the pain. And it over yet, over yet. Is an end at your request? No foreplay, no accidents, no foul play, no accidents, no accidents, no shooter's glance, no accidents. You're the reason I'm going to prison. You're the reason I'm going mad. You're mine, only mine. You're mine, only mine. And don't let 'em call you. Don't let 'em call you. Don't let 'em call you. Don't let 'em call you never again. Slightly sexy, a bit deranged. Slapped a bandit on the outbound Wollongong train. You're an unsolved mystery, constantly challenging me. But I wanna hear it all. You got to go in to get out. Can I sleep next to you? Can I serve your mind through? You're outlandish and perfectly cool. Hey Jack, where you been? There's no ice, but have another gin and get the car keys, pack 'em in. I know they're crazy, look at 'em shouting into the wind. I love the kind of crazy shouting into the wind. Can I sleep next to you? Can I serve your mind through?
Welcome back to the session. I am still hanging out with Highland Brewing Company, and we're drinking their beer, as we like to do. Headlands Brewing Company. Headlands. Oh, my God. Austin, this is why you're here.
So many rhymes, Joe.
Yeah.
I was drinking a beer.
There's three. Yeah, he's like, we'll just let this one slide. But if he doesn't get it right soon, Headlands Brewing Company. And by the way, you can go to headlandsbrewing.com and find out more about their beer and their locations and everything else. So go to headlandsbrewing.com and check it out. All right. So for a while, you didn't have your own brewery. You were, quote unquote, gypsy breweries, which basically meant that you would kind of take over other folks' breweries for a while. They would brew the beer for you. Yeah. And we've discussed that at length on this show, so I think our listeners mostly know that business model. I think it's actually in the time. When did you guys start?
2013, which no one would believe.
Yeah.
Including me.
Because of the growth since then?
Because it was a little slow for a while, and then we almost shut down in 2019 because we just ran out of money. And then,
right.
And then Lafayette came along, and so...
And changed things for you guys.
Yeah, changed everything.
Because I was going to say that I think that model was a smart move, the Gypsy Brewing model. Rather, like, in fact, if you had run out of money, almost run out of money in 2019, I would venture to say if you had bought a brewery in 2013, you definitely would have run out of money, right?
Yeah.
So I think kind of a good model to start with. So, but now you have your own production brewery, and is this your first one?
Other than that little baby in Lafayette, yeah.
Okay.
First brewery.
So Gypsy Brewery to put your cans on the shelf until you open Lafayette in 2020?
2021.
2021.
Yeah, May of last year.
Okay, right. So Lafayette, by the way, folks who are not in California and Northern California, is this awesome little town that I was afraid to open in because I wasn't sure that it had quite enough population. Even though it does, I just wasn't quite sure of it. But it's perfect for a brewery and beer garden because there are folks that need a place to go hang out and drink beer, and I feel like Lafayette didn't have that.
Yeah, credit to Nick Martinez, who was running the tap room over at Speakeasy. He was driving by and he saw a for lease sign.
Okay.
And he knew we'd been looking for a spot, and he just said, "This space looks great."
Yeah.
And we looked it over, and literally it was like, we're going to shut the business down or we're going to find a place to live.
Wow. And
we found that place to live. We built a little brewery there. It was an old art gallery.
Yeah.
Start to finish. And we've got an amazing beer garden in there, a little brewery. And it's gone so well that we're like, okay, we can't shut the thing down now. We better keep going.
Yeah. What a scary moment, though, where you're like, it's either over or we're going to pour more money into this location for us.
Try having a conversation with your wife about that.
Yeah. She's like,
we're already pretty much bankrupt. Let's do it again.
We're doubling down. Okay. But that is kind of a crazy move, but clearly worked out for you guys.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
Did you have to, if you don't mind me asking, but some of our listeners are, prospective entrepreneurs, did you have to take on new investment in order to open the tap room?
We did not.
You were able to just kind of scrounge it up.
We did have 401ks that are not quite at the
what they
level they were before.
So self-investment.
Yeah, it's been self-investment.
Yeah,
to this point. So
it's a beautiful spot and really focused on kind of the outdoor space that is there was something you guys chose to do.
Yeah, we wouldn't. I mean, I grew up in New Zealand. You don't drink beer inside in New Zealand. You always drink it outside.
Yeah.
That's everything we ever do is always going to be outdoor focused, whether it's partnerships or whether it's the beer garden or new brewery, new tap rooms.
Okay. And you put in the 3-barrel brew house at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. So at that time, then you must still be kind of gypsy brewing to keep the shelves stocked at other locations.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And where were you doing that? Can we talk about that? Or
yeah, mostly at Speakeasy.
Right. Okay.
Phil was our head brewer. Phil left to work as head brewer at Speakeasy, but he knew the recipes. He knew how to make the beer, and so most of our brewing's been over there for the last few years.
Okay.
And frankly, they've done a really good job.
Yeah.
I mean, our product in the cans has been really good, but we always did want that home. We just hadn't found one.
Sure. Well, it's expensive, and all of that. Not only do you take that risk, by the way, but you take that risk in 2021. When things are still kind of, especially out here in Contra Costa County, like there's still kind of regulations about COVID. They're going back and forth, but you guys just went all in. You said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, it was crazy. Actually, I moved to New Zealand for a year because I'm like, I don't want to hang around with COVID. So my wife and my kids and I, we went to New Zealand, and Alex Brew, who was he's the longest serving employee at Headlands. He basically project managed getting that whole thing up and running with me working down in New Zealand.
Wow.
And so he's really the reason that we got that place up to where it is today.
Okay.
And it felt right the whole way through. And frankly, the city of Lafayette was like, some cities, frankly, you talk to them and they're like, hey, let's try and put some roadblocks in. They're like, we want you guys.
They're all in.
However we can help you out. And it's been amazing. And we opened up and I was still in New Zealand, literally day one we opened.
Wow.
And people were sending me videos like, look at this place. Like we hadn't even told anyone we were opening. Let's just open the doors and see if anyone shows up.
And people are ready.
Bananas, day one.
Oh, I
crazy.
love that. I love that. It really is a beautiful spot.
Thank you.
Can I tell you, I sort of had this opposite COVID and New Zealand experience with you than you. I was in New Zealand when it hit the States. So I was there for hop harvest. So whatever that is in 2019. And I'm there and everything's going fine. And me and my New Zealand friends are reading in the news about this COVID thing. and the New Zealanders at the time, they're just laughing at it. And they're laughing at me. They're like, what's wrong with you Americans and this panicking about this flu that's out there? And before you know it, I'm like driving through, I'm trying to get myself to Abel Tasman.
Mm-hmm.
I come down the mountain, and for the first time, I see all these New Zealanders like panicking and running around, which you don't really see. They're very laid back people.
Only when we lose rugby to Australia, then it gets a little nasty.
Well, or apparently if the liquor store is threatening to shut down because everyone's running left and right. And my friends start calling me and they're like, hey, dude, like, I don't know where you are, but you have 24 hours to get where you're going to be for the next we don't know how long. Jacinda Ardern is shutting down the country, and wherever you are, whether that's a campground or whatever it is, you're stuck. So I hauled ass back to Auckland, got to my friend's flat, luckily, in like 14 hours, and was stuck there until I could get a flight home.
Wow.
I should have fucking stayed, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What? You didn't stay?
It did seem pretty nice. We left here in like July of, 20, I guess. And the first weekend we were there, Bear Festival in Wellington. Second weekend we were there, All Blacks All Blacks Australia rugby game.
Yeah.
It's like, this is real life, the normal life.
For you only, for you and only you.
It was, yes, we were very lucky.
Yeah.
You could have broadcasted from afar. It would have been the Sunday session again.
I 100% could have and would have and should have. The only thing that made me leave was the hop grenade.
Oh.
Like we had gotten shut down, and I had to get back here to figure out how to sell beer out the door, right? Like what the same thing everybody else had to do here. But in hindsight, I should have just said fuck it. Just stayed in. Anyhow, I like to hear that you went back, and good on you, because then you got to kind of chill out.
Yeah, we did. We chilled out. We learned a little bit about New Zealand beers, New Zealand beer is good now.
Absolutely.
When I left a long time ago, wasn't so good.
Well, you want to talk about pale ale, like it's pale ale and fun new hops.
I had so many great beers there.
Yeah.
And yes, and then as soon as I came back, because I was there for hop harvest, all of my favorite Bay Area breweries are using New Zealand hops.
Yeah.
And I know they've been around before, so maybe I just didn't take note as much. But I also think they really rose in popularity starting around 2019, 2020, and till today, more popular than ever.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the poor bastards in New Zealand who brew beer are having trouble.
They can't get them anymore.
They can't get their hops.
And now the dollar's so strong, we're just going to dominate them.
When I was a kid, it was all tobacco, and they ripped that all out and put in grapes. And so just to get to the point of ripping that out and putting in hops again was a challenge as well. So
sure.
I think, 2019, wasn't that long ago. But,
and I think it's a bright future for New Zealand hops, and thankfully, because God, are they good in all craft beer, but I guess I'll just toot our own horn in American craft beer. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of my favorite beers from my favorite breweries around here are using Matueka, certainly Nelson, Ruwaka. In fact, I just had a pale ale, an American pale ale from Faction. It's on tap now that I think has Ruwaka in it.
Yeah, I've
Ruwaka
tried
Strata.
like 3 different beers this week that had Ruwaka in it.
Yeah. And what I like about the New Zealand hops, too, sorry I'm getting us on a New Zealand tangent, but
I'm good with that.
Some of the dank qualities that I never liked before. Diesel, like kerosene, like I like it now.
So I like it, but I find it to be lot specific. It's kind of like, you know, how there's Great Simcoe and Caddy Simcoe.
Yep.
I find you get that with the New Zealand. So it's a great excuse for Austin to send me to hop selection here shortly so that we can, you know, get the best of the best New Zealand hops.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Because so some of my favorite breweries around here, I feel like they're consistently good. And I think there's two reasons. One, almost without exception, they go and select their own lot.
Oh, yeah.
So
No,
that's a determining factor.
For sure.
And they're just good, consistent brewers, right?
So,
like those two
so lock
things.
it in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll find other brewers, and I'm like, wow, yours is really good, like my other friend's brewery. And they're like, yeah, we bought him off of him. Like he had excess in his contract, so and I'm like, well, there it is. It can be very lot specific.
I do think so, because I have bought some, and this is what's fun about the R&D system.
Yeah.
Is buying some of these spot and seeing how these hops hit, and you know, knowing these brewers and seeing how they're using them, and then using them same way and doing my own things with it.
Yeah.
And it's not quite the same. It does come down to, you know, it's an agricultural product. You need to do that hop selection.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the fest beer in our glass, and then we're going to come back to the production brewery. But what is this, your Oktoberfest?
So this is a really fun beer. I'm a bit of a lager nut. I'm a lager head. And what I like about this fest beer is that it is a Keller beer. It's a Svickle beer. So this is an unfiltered. It's intentionally this color, and has that opacity, but leaving a little bit of that yeast body and the bitterness that does encompass and hold on to the palate when you do drink, and the retronasal that comes from that really fresh. I mean, you racked this on Friday.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And we put it on.
Fresh.
So it's we call it. I've done a couple of super fresh Keller beer
fresh
styles.
series.
So, you know, and again, it's like 3.5 barrels. So we move through these beers so fast.
Nice.
And it's really fun. But this beer is interesting in that it's virtually all Admiral malt. So
good.
It's environment based malt, but all the character malts are Admiral, and I'm trying to target a more modern fest beer. So this isn't a Märzen. It's very much kind of a modern fest beer. And, you know, of the big 6 fest beer breweries in Munich,
Yeah.
you know, some of them have bowed to modern palates, and some of them are like, no,
This is not what we do.
no, we brew Märzen.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I like to interpret fest beer as a little lighter, a little more approachable. You get some of these cool malt characters, really amazing German lager character with a yeast strain near and dear to my heart.
Which is what? The Weinstefan?
No.
Augustiner?
No.
Oh, I'm
You're-
striking out here.
Keep guessing. Well, we're gonna taste three more beers with
Yeah.
this specific yeast strain. So
They all have it. Okay.
you'll just keep peeling it apart. Maybe you'll guess.
I don't know. I'm not that good.
Yeah, it's it's a fest beer. So there's a lot to talk about, but there's also something to me about a fest beer that is, can you put it in a liter and drink it?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that,
I did yesterday, so
Nice.
it happens.
yeah, you did. Well, after you won a dance competition.
Yeah, man, I was thirsty.
Was this at the brewery?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. Yeah.
Well, no, the dance competition was
the
at the
dance
brewery.
competition was not. It was down the street, but
Okay.
yeah, I needed a thirst quencher.
A man
That
of
was
many
it.
talents over here.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you guys do liters just for Oktoberfest, or this was just a one-off thing?
For Oktoberfest, and I think it's fair. I mean, we do 20-ounce pints, which I love. It's half the reason why I joined Headlands. I joined Headlands November of last year.
Okay.
And I showed up, and I'm like, if they don't have a proper pint, I don't know if I can work here. And they did,
Wow.
so checked that box.
Even before you got there, they had the 20-ounce.
Yeah,
pint.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's mandatory for me.
So I helped put on the Concord Oktoberfest here in the park for a couple years. I've since stopped because it's a big pain in the ass. But I wanted it to be as traditional as possible. But honestly, I chickened out on the liter beers. I ordered
half-liters.
I did half-liter Steins, so you come on, order 2 if you want. And I'm purist too. Like, I've been to Oktoberfest, I absolutely love it. But I also can handle my shit. And I was worried that Concord couldn't.
No, yeah.
Look,
there's
there's a-
Concord locals.
Yeah, but there is something there where like they, you know, it's more of a family event, but they'll drink a few liters, no problem.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Right. No, it's the Aussies, the Americans, and the Italians who are hammered at Oktoberfest. It's not the Germans.
Yeah, no, the Irish and the German are fine. No, it's in short, you know, this is a really fun beer in that, you know, we were trying to get it in And I'm like, man, I don't think we have time to lager an Oktoberfest, but I really love Keller beer.
Okay.
I've had a lot of fun playing with that recipe and dialing back on finished bitterness, but letting that yeast carry through with some of that breadiness.
So it's
and
less tank time in a Keller beer.
It's very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. We brewed this beer. Look, this is non-traditional, so if you're German brewing tradition, plug your ears. We brewed this beer 912.
Okay.
And we kegged it 929.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So we got it through primary fermentation. We cold crashed it, and made sure it cleared via VDK diacetyl, and
That's quick.
and carved it.
It's delicious. It worked out.
I like having 2 or 3 weeks even with a Keller beer.
Yeah.
And we're under a timeline. So I was like, well, there's only one way I can make a fest beer, and it's going to be a Svickel.
Yeah.
A Svickel fest beer. And
Nice.
not many people have done it. I Googled it before I came on the show. I was like, is anyone doing this? Do people in Germany even do this? And I don't think they do.
Right.
Like Revolution Brewing in Chicago has one, and like another brewery.
There's
here or there.
another one, and we serve them sometimes only in bottles that does as Vickel too. Gosh, what is their name? But anyhow,
Is it German?
He's a German but he's an American brewery in St. Louis, I think.
Oh man, I should know this off the top of my head.
So I met him years ago and interviewed him. No, but they're
Okay.
good too.
Yeah.
I met him years ago at the Great American Beer Festival and interviewed him when he was the experimental brewer for Anheuser-Busch. And they had brought this German over to be that. Then he left them and opened his own brewery.
Yeah.
It's a real Urban Chestnut.
Oh, Urban
Have you
Chestnut.
heard of that?
Yeah, no, and actually, you have some beer in the cooler. Out
do we have
front.
it now? Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I think it might be Svickel beer actually.
There's one that I think their flagship is
Yeah.
Zvickel, and
Well,
it's great.
Well, and that's the thing. It's something. It's a little twist on lager for me. Being and that is the opportunity of a system of that size, right?
Yeah.
We can bring consumers, whether they know it or not, something that they can't get anywhere unless you're in Bavaria.
Yeah.
And so, when I studied beer in Germany and we toured around and we were drinking beer from massive, the big producers down to the smallest, town pub.
Yeah.
I was always gravitating to things that were, there is more than those crystal clear beers
Sure.
in Germany that aren't just Hefeweizen.
And even the Germans may not admit it, or at least the Bavarians won't. But there's really this other beer culture in Germany too.
Yeah.
These
for sure.
one-offs.
No, for sure.
So how many taps do you have at the tap room now? Because you saying that now you get to experiment like that and do these one-offs. What are we talking here?
So I think it's a 14?
We're 20, but 3 of them are wine. So
Yes.
call it 17.
so you do wine on tap.
We do wine on tap, and
Yeah.
we always like to have some guest beers coming through
Nice.
as
Okay.
well. So if we have 10 Headlands beers on tap, that's a lot for us.
And
Although-
they tend to not be your, I don't know, quote unquote, flagship beers, or do you always have those on there
We
too?
always try to keep those on.
Okay.
Supply chain is what it is. Every once in a while, we
So that gives you another 6 to 8 beers that you get to mess with. Is
that we get to have fun and play with.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's space for we gotta brew those West Coast IPAs.
Mm-hmm.
They move fast. People love them. I enjoy drinking them. But we also have a Trailblazer series, which is our hazy series. So we have a lot of those through our kind of our gypsy supply chain, which we're actually going to bring in house at Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Hence Justin Felix sitting over here.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Because you can see lager specialist. But actually, kudos to Justin on this. I showed up and I realized I double booked myself on 9/12, and we were brewing together. I was just training him up, and I'm like, dude, I gotta go. I actually had an appointment I could not miss.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yeah, can you take this home? And we high-fived and he rock and rolled
And just finished it on the brew system.
and made it happen.
On
I'm
day
not
one.
scared.
Nice.
not scared.
Not scared of no system.
Now, aside from this Zvickel, the Keller version, are you like a full-on 6-week lager guy for your lagers then?
It depends.
Okay.
I am willing to acknowledge that while indoctrination in brewing lager beer in Germany is a thing, that more rapid lagers can and to my palate taste as crispy. So if you don't have the 6, 8, 12 weeks for traditional laydown, I love pitching very cold correctly letting that beer ferment out for its 10 days.
Yeah.
But I am not afraid of a diacetyl rest of like 15 or 16 Celsius. So you're talking, low 60s. You let that beer free rise.
Yeah.
So if you get your pitch temp correct and all of those ester formations, all of that is in that first 72, the first 3, 4, 5 days of fermentation. You clear that hurdle, and then you let the yeast clear itself up.
Yep.
And then get that beer really cold.
Yeah.
And process it. I'm personally, with all the right levers in place, a 28-day lager person.
Okay.
If the gravity is where it's at and where everything's going. Now, if I'm being on the extreme end, we have, great lager palate here, but it has to be poured as a Zwickel beer.
It's got to be, okay.
And what's interesting is as a Zwickel, it tasted differently Friday. It tasted differently Sunday. I didn't drink it Saturday. And it's tasting different today. And to me, that's like half of the fun. This beer is just going to drift ever so subtly, even post-package, because the yeast is in the package.
Which is still basically lagering, even as long as it's sitting cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm missing my friend and former co-host, who's passed now, Tasty, was with us for years, because he would have been sitting there just nodding his head with you. He was such a proponent of the pay attention to the beer. Do that first few days of fermentation exactly like you're supposed to, then let it free rise into the zone that it needs to clean everything else up. And if it tastes good after 3 weeks, it tastes good after 3 weeks. Stop fucking around. And he would just call it we would make fun of him for this like short lager thing.
Yeah, fast lager, short, whatever.
But he was right. Like half the time he was right if you know what you're doing in the first part of fermentation. And that was like his caveat. Like you better know what the fuck you're doing.
Don't mess around with pitch rate. Don't mess around with pitch temp.
Yeah.
You need to hit that. But I probably learned that from Tasty.
Okay, nice.
I had the privilege of catching Tasty on a day at the Hop Grenade or at the Good Hop on Telegraph.
Yeah.
And he was sitting solo, which is rare with Tasty. He usually rolls pretty deep.
Yeah.
I was just able to pull up next to him and chat lagers, kind of right there at the end, and it was great to connect with him. And
that's awesome.
And have a moment and share a pint. It was funny. I was going to run in and buy beer and run out.
And then,
I'm like, is that Tasty sitting at the bar?
Nice.
I'm like, so I just saddled up next to him. I'm like, hey, Tasty, how's it going? I'm texting my wife like,
Caitlin, you will never guess who I'm sitting next to.
And I'm not going to be home in 20 minutes.
Hey, if your, let's call them short lagers, taste better because of that meeting, it was time well spent.
There we go. No, yeah. Huge kudos to Tasty.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay. So why don't we pour the next beer, too? And while we're doing that, I want to go back to the Pittsburgh Brewery. So you guys open Lafayette, and you're having all the success, having your own tap room now, a place where people can come and enjoy the beer that's yours, right? And you decide we still need a brewery of our own. Now, E.J. Fair, who I've known for years, they kind of stopped brewery production there a couple years ago. I don't know the exact
timeline. It was COVID. It was January 20th,
okay.
Like 2020.
We have the brew sheets.
Yeah, I have the last brew sheet.
And then, unfortunately, and the restaurants sold their tasting room next to us. My neighbor just closed last month as well. They still have the other location. And I believe they still have the front of the house in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
They do. Yes.
Good, which I love to hear. I'm so glad that JJ and EJ Fair are still open and doing well elsewhere. But he did mention to me, like, the brewery itself's kind of in flux. And, he spent some cash and put in a nice brewery in that great space, by the way.
It's a cool building.
So it's a great building.
Yeah.
So you guys come along, and how many barrels is that?
It's
34,
it's big, right?
Yeah,
it's a big
we're
brewery.
getting 35 out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come along and you start talking to JJ, I assume, and you end up buying the brewery outright, or is it sort of alternating?
We're still leasing it from. It's fully our license, but we're leasing it from JJ. He bought the building. It's his equipment.
Okay.
So,
but it's your license. It's not like a proprietorship, like an alternating thing.
No.
Okay.
Our license. And we'd been. It comes back to when we first brewed our Wolfpack Ridge IPA there in 2017. They made really good beer, and then I pitched to JJ probably 4 years ago. Let's take over the space. He's like, nah. And then for a while, he's like, I'm just going to rip everything out and put in a 10-barrel system and just support my own restaurants.
Right.
And eventually, he's like, that seems like too much work as well.
That's a lot of work and a lot of wasted money.
A lot, yes. So we went back and forth for a while, and then eventually signed a lease, took over. Then Ryan said, hey, I'm about to have a kid, so I'm going to pop out for 6 weeks. I'm like, all right, then.
Okay. Guess I'll go back to New Zealand.
Yeah. And, so we really officially have been in there for probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Have you brewed on it yet?
We've brewed on it. We packaged our first
4
beer
times.
last week.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
is that where you are? You're not in Lafayette, Justin. You're basically in Pittsburgh now.
Correct.
That's your house.
Correct.
we even let him name our first beer out of there.
Nice.
We packaged last week.
Which is what?
Send it.
Oh, nice.
Send it West Coast IPA Headlands. Check it out.
That's
No,
awesome.
but it was great because we were there, and I have some experience shifting businesses from contract model to owner operated. So I worked with Nico and Sully at the 21st Amendment.
Oh, yeah.
And so I helped them build the San Leandro facility.
Nice.
I was kind of the only production employee who was on the wholesale side. Obviously, Zambo was kicking ass down at the brew pub at 563 2nd Street.
Yeah.
But so I have some experience here, shifting business model from contract. Sully would kick me if he heard me say that. Partner brewing.
Partner.
Yes, partner brewing. And that's how I refer to it because I'm fully indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Partner brewing to owner operated. And it's just an awesome opportunity. I mean, there was a system where it has great bones, and it just needed some time and attention.
Sure.
And JJ's done some great work there. And then I'm also really particular, so we're coming in and we've hard piped the whole system, and
he's letting you just do whatever.
dude,
to make it
I was
your
like,
brew.
JJ, can I just start cutting into your vessels, and I'm gonna add a port here and this and that. He's like, oh no, that's cool. No, that makes sense. Have fun.
Right.
Like, go at it. So it's like high five,
Nice.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so we had process pipers on site for 2 weeks, but the story about Send It was he had joined. And we were in flux and in transition. We're in this big shift as a company from all gypsy brewing to now owner-operated production.
Yeah.
And I'm talking through some things with Justin, and Justin just looks at me. He's like, dude, just send it. So I was
Just
like,
get it done.
Great. All right. Well, we have malts, we have hops. Like, we're gonna figure out yeast. Let's brew
Send
like
it.
like in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And so we turned it on, and we brewed the way like Shat brewed there probably then back in the day, and
Yeah.
and learned a lot. So it was like really valuable. And I always earmark that first batch of beer to be dumped always.
Yeah.
And
But it came out okay?
and it actually came out more than okay.
Yeah.
And people are hyped about it, and so I'm like, well, just
do it.
Just
Send it.
Just send it.
Will you also brew some EJ Fair beers for his locations?
I think we're talking about, maybe there's some fan favorites. I mean, I've heard a rumor about this beer called Shorty's Revenge. You probably know about it.
Yeah. People love that beer.
I only know about it, from listening to the BN for 12 years or something.
Yeah.
So
You
that's
probably heard us get drunk on it once or twice.
Maybe
it's
once.
a big beer. Yeah.
Maybe once.
Yeah.
But the thing is like we'd love to, and we plan on doing that. And there's some other players involved too, where we hope we have a little bit of spare capacity. It's another thing though that we turn this thing on, and while there's a lot of space there, we're growing. We have a lot of demand. So
that's great.
We're going to be packing these tanks out with West Coast IPAs. And our Trailblazers series, our hazy IPAs,
Nice.
In the near term, and that's really kind of our transition strategy. We're still contract partner Gypsy Brewing
But you're going to transition into this everything there.
Yep.
Is there a canning line?
There won't be, but there will be, right?
No more capital.
Yeah, Austin's like,
Austin realized I'm really good at spending money, and if you ask Sully and Nico, they'd probably say the
Very
same
good.
thing.
I did notice you mentioned early on that one of the founders of Headlands is the head brewer at another brewery. So I'm like, well, you're not millionaires yet, that's for sure. Everyone's still working a job.
Yeah, I don't know why. But I just keep transitioning to industries. I was in the wine business, and the best way to make a small fortune, start with a big one. Then I was in cannabis, same bloody thing. Now I'm in beer. I'm like, I got to figure out a different industry.
Yeah, because we're in the wrong business.
He was worth a couple billion a few years ago, and now it's peanuts now. It's like
a crap ton
it's
of fun, but you are
the same tax
not
bracket now,
on the
Austin.
path to a millionaire. Neither are you guys.
Yeah. Neither are you, and neither are you. And you can just go around the room.
Not you.
Well,
not you,
Justin's great. We can just pay him in beer and skateboards, and
And he's happy to go. Yeah.
That's all.
Hey,
That's all you require.
one person's million is another person's skateboard. So he's doing.
And a microwave.
the microwave.
he
came
did.
in.
He did get his microwave.
Yes.
I do want to plug More Beer though too, because they are nearby and they have a ton of fittings that are right at our brewery size.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just shocked because I was able to do will call orders and pick them up the next day, and so I actually changed a lot of my fitting preferences and things like that, just because it's there. It was
heck yeah.
accessible.
Big
and
love.
and they're also kind of crushing it on price. So there are other generic suppliers out there where More Beer's checking all three of the boxes. So
Yeah, I don't mind
gotta
putting
hype that.
I don't mind putting a fine point on this. Not only because they're a sponsor, but they're my friends, and
Yeah.
I've watched them like grow over
Yeah.
the years into what they are. And I'm actually surprised. I would say a good 8 out of the 10 last breweries I've had in this studio all say, "Oh yeah, we buy pro shit from More Beer."
Oh, yeah.
and they might buy it from elsewhere too if
Yep.
you need something different. But they're all like, "Oh, if you need it fast and you need it at a good price, everyone's buying from More Beer," which I think is pretty dope.
Yeah.
They've
Well-
built out a great business.
Well, like I was bringing process pipers in, and I hadn't quite drawn all the PNID, the process instrumentation diagrams for them to come and pipe it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna buy valves on the fly from More Beer, and I did. I was just like, I bought 20 valves, went and picked them up the next day. Bought 20 valves,
Done.
Went and picked them up the next day. So it's pretty rad.
Yeah, I like to hear that. All right. I think we have a Hellas in
Yes.
our glass.
So you mentioned Alex Brew, who longest standing employee now at Headlands, a GM, but he does like fucking everything because we're small.
Okay.
So
I think Alex is who booked this show for us, right?
I think Jeremy booked it.
Jeremy, that's right.
Well,
Jeremy did.
Alex
You're
has been preoccupied with getting married, and
So
that
he got
happens.
married. So 2 of the beers we're actually drinking were born from a conversation with Alex and then his significantly better half, Brittany, who he's now married to. Alex loves Helles, and he loves that I love lager, and he's German and heritage. And so when I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep putting like Keller Helles and filtered Helles on tap, this guy's like, man, Ryan's a real pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah.
But at least he's putting beer on tap I love to drink.
Yeah.
So this beer is called Brew Helles. It's 4.9%. I actually dialed back IBUs a couple of points for him because he just likes a nice, clean malt forward beer and really going to express that lager quality. This beer leads actually all with Fireman malt.
Okay.
So it's Fireman Pils. Dash of Vienna and just a really classic. This is more of a classic fermentation profile. So
Okay.
this did lay down for 5 weeks and
No filter? Just biofine?
but I mean 3.5 barrel system, biofine.
Biofine, yeah.
Yep.
So this is the beer. Okay, now the previous beer, the Fest, the Keller, I would have 1 full liter glass of it.
Yes.
This is the one that I would have 4 of while I'm at Oktoberfest. This is
Literally what I did on Sunday.
This is a
I had 1 liter
4
Oktoberfest.
liter Helles right here. It's the one if you're going to be all day at the fest, I could stick with this. It's really fantastic.
I mean I appreciate that because I don't put my hand up as an IPA specialist, but I want to come to the table with lagers that are nuanced but also just super drinkable. And
Yeah.
and that's my measure. Am I going to have 2 or 3 20 ounce? Am I going to have a liter 2 or 3 of this beer?
Yeah.
And that's the 4.9%, like rock and roll all day long.
It's so good. It has all the subtleties of a good Helles, but also a nice firm bitterness, all noble. What are the full hop bill?
It's Sots.
Yeah, it's just Sots.
I
Yeah.
mean, I do have a bittering charge right at the front, but it's minuscule. And
Magnum or something?
No, it's tradition. It's something that
yeah.
if I am brewing a German beer, I like tradition and how it was bred and where it came out of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like a more modern, higher alpha hop, but it still has so much of that classic kind of hollow tower characteristic that I bitter with it, and then
Yeah.
it keeps just the total green mass low for the whirlpool.
I see.
And I finish with Sots. So that's kind of my technique with hops. It's like bring in the German tradition, hit it on the bittering side. But
See, in this
if
we
you
were
really
talking-
want it, hit Sots at the end.
It's perfect. And this we were talking yeast before. If I were going to bet money, which I know I'm already wrong, so I would have lost my money. I would have gone, oh, it's Augustiner. It has to be Augustiner yeast.
You've been drinking Wondrous, it sounds like.
Yeah,
You love one.
good beer. And I love Augustiner. Like that's my friends from Germany who introduced me to German beer. They're just Augustiner heads. So you know how like you kind of at some point you're not really allowed to like another beer.
Yeah.
That happened to me with that. It's also a great beer. But I would have doubled down on that.
You're gonna okay, so you still.
Well, I don't know what else to get unless we're gonna talk about like I'm almost out of things unless we're talking Spaten or something.
We're not at Spaten. I mean, I'll tell you but you got to twist my arm.
No, keep going.
Okay, wait. We'll keep them on the spot. Okay, you know what? I also have a contemporary light lager that we're gonna taste through. That is also the same yeast strain.
So that's your last shot.
Can I ask you, is it German? Even?
It is very much German.
Okay.
It actually couldn't be more German.
All right, I want to make sure you're not going to be like, no, it's Anheuser-Busch. It is totally screw me on this, but
it's Mexican lager.
So you're lucky you've got this because so we mentioned Alex got married, so this beer and the next beer were brewed specifically for his wedding.
Oh, nice.
And his math was all of my friends are going to have at least 10 to 12 pints.
Right.
So I need, how many did he take? Like 12, 14 half barrels?
Yeah,
wow.
We're like, there's
It's a
no
big 10
way.
or 12 half barrels.
And
it was a
so
big wedding.
He sent back like 2/3 of it.
Because they all drank
My
tequila.
friends all drank tequila. So
Oh, shit.
what are you going
A lot of tequila doubles on ice that night.
But
so.
he was prepared.
He was
Calculation,
very
but he
prepared.
had-
Well, he probably wasn't wrong that those who did drink beer drank 10 to 12 pints, and
Well,
they
I
were
was driving
able to
Ryan
walk home.
again.
Okay, yeah. Again. Yeah.
But no, for me, I was like, Alex, man, I've thrown some big events. If you go through even half of the beer we're sending, but I love the ambition. I'm like, look, if you want us to send you 9 or 10 or 12 kegs, like we're gonna make it happen. So
Yeah.
We're happy that they enjoyed it. But Brew Hell is kind of a nod to his father and to him, and the beer that's gonna follow up is a nod to his new father-in-law and also his wife.
All right, well, why don't we do this? We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we've got that beer, so it'll be our last lager. So I get one more chance.
Yep.
I'm like,
You're right there. You got it.
Don't pull up a map. If you pull up a map, you might be able.
No, I think, okay.
You're gonna
all
have to
right.
zoom out just a tiny bit. If you pull up a map, you might be able to.
If Sully's listening, he's probably emailing you right now or texting you anyway. So
Yeah, that's true.
He's in Denver. I gave him a hard time. He wasn't going to be here.
The JBF, yeah. You're just stuck with me. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more from Headlands Brewing Company. Hang in there. It's The Session.
I got Jeremy's beer at the beginning of the session. It's just been sipping Roche. Oh, well, I thought it was mine. I thought it was. Oh, Game Boy. That's why it's been sitting.
Back what you wanted to say. You know it wouldn't matter anyway. Oh no. And you tried to work your way back in to see my life.
like, guess how fucked this beer is. No, but really though, like, half of it, like, sure, that was our first brew on there. I'm pretty proud of it, man.
For what we did, the day we had?
You know what JJ said to me on Friday? What? When I went over there? He goes, hey man, good job on sending. I'm like, right on. Oh, yeah, he goes, best beer I've had. I go, exactly. No, I took that, but I was like, right on, man. I was like, just wait. I was like, wait, bro. You can just smell it too.
Welcome back to the session. Thanks for hanging out with us. Looks like I left a microphone on at the break, so hopefully you guys didn't talk too much shit.
I talked a lot of shit.
Man, yeah. It was only
Justin
it was Justin's mic that
it
was
was
on,
mine.
so I don't know how that went, but it's
Jeez.
probably all right. Yeah, I don't think we said anything too bad. I've always been told that the best parts of the show happen at the break, and that I should record those and like later, maybe when I'm ready to retire, release all the breaks.
Oh, yeah.
as like a series of podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes it's us joking and saying fucked up stuff, but oftentimes it's brewers then, like when Sully's here especially, like really diving into the details. They're like, hey, you mentioned that brewing process. Now I want to really talk about that. And then we spend 20 minutes at the break talking about it. That's the release I should do one day.
I love it. You shouldn't do that with us, but yes, everyone from here on out.
Right. So we don't have a ton of time left, and I want to dive into the beer, but let's just wrap up. So you guys, just to make sure we put a fine point on it, you're now officially have taken over the Pittsburgh Brew House, which I'm so stoked to hear. Like I already mentioned, it's a beautiful spot, and it sounds like you guys just really needed a home. You will transition, I guess, eventually 100% of the brewing into that. I mean,
That's
other
the
than
plan.
the tap room.
Yeah.
That is the plan. Side growth. You know. And the good news is we have some great partners, but we're growing pretty rapidly, and we're launching potentially new SKUs. I don't know. I don't want to say too much, but
Sure.
there's a lot of things in the works, and we can get 3,000 to 4,000 barrels of beer through that space.
Okay.
But we'll see if that'll be enough.
Sure.
Well, Ryan and I have a deal, right? Once we do that, you get to build a new brewery, and Ryan likes building breweries.
like
So,
it.
yeah.
Ground
He's
up.
very
Get us to square-
incented. to
I've
get us to
built
5,000
more
breweries.
than one brewery, so
Right.
I'm like, yes, let's do it again, do it better.
Well, and it seems to me, so a lot of breweries are very grassroots, and I think you guys are too, and promote within and hire within. But it seems to me, Austin, like you were, I don't know if you were targeted or you were, I read through some of your own bio. I did my Google of you. And you're a guy who, you've already said you've come from other industries. And one of the things that you do well is to scale companies, to come in and see where a company wants to grow up and help them do that. Do I have that about right?
Yeah, 100%.
Part of your specialty.
Yes.
And not every brewery wants to do that, right? Some breweries want to, no, we're just small. We're just going to keep who we are. Even if they want to grow, they're like, oh, we'll do it ourselves, which is it's a big learning curve. So I feel like if you guys are growing rapidly right now in a difficult time, that does have a lot to do with bringing someone like you on, Austin, to help with that trajectory. Is that really kind of your job?
Yeah, I do. That is why I came on to help scale the business. I mean, we're talking scale in Northern California. We don't really need to or want to be anywhere else. But
I see.
But really, it just comes down to putting the right people around you. We opened up Lafayette. It was incredible, but we didn't have Ryan or Justin at that point in time.
Okay.
And we had a team meeting over at Pittsburgh the other day to sort of drink a little champagne and just celebrate the first beer coming off the system.
Heck yeah.
And like it felt so natural, but also felt like we have a brewing team that can take us anywhere.
Right.
And we didn't have that before. Yes, we had Phil and Patrick were amazing, but it was always contract brewing.
Okay.
Now we have our own system, an incredible brewing team.
Make your own tweaks.
Yeah. And so we have no aspirations to be huge.
Okay.
But we do have an aspiration to be the brewery that people they look up to, they aspire to be a little bit like us.
Yeah.
The same way as we aspire to some other great breweries in the Bay Area.
Sure.
So it's fun.
So now you feel like you guys are sort of more in charge of your own destiny. So you can grow as large as you want to, and at least you're in control of the quality as it goes.
I think control's the key. You talk about securing hops and securing malt and all the things that we can do, but even though we've had some great contract brewing partners, just being always the kind of third leg on the stool was just challenging, and
it's
now
inevitable.
we have our own spot.
See, I'm glad that you're honest about that too, and not that Sully hasn't been when he comes in here too, but when you are just gypsy brewing or contract brewing, you do kind of have to toe the line. Like, no, everything's exactly how we want the beer to be.
Yeah.
Right? But that's kind of the message you have to do. But in all honesty, and I think most of our savvy listeners and consumers know, yeah, there's some missing pieces there when it's not your hands on it all the way through. And now you get to do that. Yeah.
What is exciting though, I know I've geeked out a little bit on the lagers, but Point Bonita was a partner brew. So, that
and a great beer.
And so that's where there's a time and a place, and there's opportunity for scale for business there as well. So,
Are you worried that you're now going to screw up Point Bonita now that it's in your hands?
Hell no.
Because it's
Hell
dialed
no.
in.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Justin's like, nah, I got this.
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Man, I came out here like 12 years to the Bay Area to be a brewer, and like looked up to everyone I listened to on the BN and everyone I still do. I've learned so much from everyone, and it's just like, yeah, but I've brewed enough places at enough, I cut my teeth, Ghost, Vampire Brewing for Dan Gordon down in San Jose.
Oh, yeah.
And then the transition with 21A.
He would never let you do a short lager, Dan Gordon.
No, he wouldn't. Well, the funny thing is I actually ended up founding a brewery, and one of my business partners, also my wife, got me landed on a radio show, and Ryan Scott's favorite person to bring on is Dan Gordon.
Yeah.
So I'm like the beer guy coming on, and I walk in and Dan Gordon's there.
You're like,
and I'm like, man, I'm so happy to see you. And like, these are big shoes. I got to sit next to you in my first radio show. It was a lot. We had a lot of fun.
Dan's great. So is Ryan. Yeah, Chef Ryan Scott.
Yes.
Yeah. Is he still doing radio? Do you know?
It was. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But it was great. We had good fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's you've seen enough at enough places that, and you build enough breweries, and you spend some of your own money and a lot of other people's money, and like,
sure,
you learn a lot of hard lessons, and you do it better every single time.
Yeah.
I am supremely confident that beers we bring in house, and that's our intent. We want to bring everything in house.
I can tell you guys are right where you want to be.
Yeah.
I can tell that this is
this is a huge transition. I mean, I learned this from 21A. I mean, and there are other breweries I've worked with that I shifted from owner operated to contract. So kind of the opposite of that model. And there's a dynamic to it, and it takes a lot of management. And so, luckily I have some of that experience, and luckily I'm surrounding myself with brewers who are better than me at particularly making styles I'm not very good at making.
That's how you win. Always surround yourself with people better than you. Yeah.
So
that was my rule as a musician. I was in great bands, always the worst one in the band, and that was my model. That was my model. Yeah,
but you learned the most, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that's what you guys are doing.
So we're having some fun. But it's this, like, if been around, the brand's been around since 2013, and it feels like a startup. Like it's like we're just finding the footing that that I'm very excited to.
I think you guys are putting that out, both in the beer, which is fresh and awesome tasting, and the vibe. It feels like a startup to me too. I like that. It's a good analogy. All right, let's talk. I have an American Light Lager in my glass, which is called what?
It's called Gym Light, and luckily, don't show them the label because I don't want Miller coming after me.
I'm just going to show the beer into the camera if you're watching on YouTube.
It is an adjunct American Light Lager, but I'm not using an American yeast strain. I'm using the same German lager strain that I've been using for everything but Point Bonita. It's 20% flaked rice. It is just crispy Pilsner malt and really dry, really fermented well.
Weyermann Pilsner malt again?
Yeah. Actually, this batch was Admiral. So I think there's like a little extra layer there. But I was talking to Alex. I'm like, hey, what do you and Brittany want to drink at your wedding? He's like, well, Brittany's father really likes Coors Light, and every once in a while, she'll have one, I have one. And it's like great, I'll brew that for you. And then I walk out of that conversation, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
What did I just get?
This is actually one of the hardest styles of beer to make. Like any brewer will, has told you that in the past. It's like there's nothing to hide behind.
Right.
It is all execution, no flaws,
and all fermentation.
Because if you don't hit fermentation, it's going to rear its ugly head in a beer like this.
Yeah.
So I realized I kind of signed up for more than I bargained for, and I quickly put the recipe together because I'm like, I need to brew this as soon as possible because I need to lager it for a while, and if I can't do that, I'm gonna have to brew it again.
Yeah. So, I love this beer.
Nailed it.
Dude. It's
so good.
It's 4%. There is a whisper of hops. I think I whispered German tradition over the kettle,
barely,
and it's like 10 IBUs.
Wow.
And it's so funny too because the crowd at the wedding, I was lucky enough to be invited to the wedding. The crowd at the wedding is like, man, this is like the best Coors Light I've ever had. And I'm like, it's actually not Coors Light.
No, you should have just been like, I would have just hid in the back gone like, it's just, we just happen to get really fresh Coors Light.
It's super fresh Coors Light. Yeah.
In 2005, when I started the Brewing Network, I would have hated this beer. But not because it's not perfectly executed. Because I didn't know how to appreciate a light lager, right? And now times have changed. And I'm like, oh man, I just want to keg this on all the time.
So I'm a big proponent. I'm a brewer who believes there's a time and a place for every beer out there. And I think I've even told the story to Sully. Like, I didn't get watermelon wheat. My favorite beer when I joined on was a beer called Bitter American, which you got
great beer.
Great beer. It got discoed. They asked me that in the interview, and Sully was like, is it really? I think it was an okay answer. But I got watermelon wheat one day when I was in Dolores Park, and it was a heat wave, and it was 95 degrees, and I brought some 21A, and I
for that.
I had 4 Hell or High watermelons. I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And ever since then, I'm like, the snobbery has melted away, and I'm like, there is always a time and a place for a beer.
And I think that's what's happened to me over the years too, and why I can. This is just fantastic. Okay, I'm ready for my yeast guess. I'm ready for my final.
What is it?
It's Polaner.
Ooh, that's a great guess.
Great guess.
Oh, 3 strikes. None of our listeners expected me to get it anyway, so it's fine. Well,
it's the only monastery brewery in Bavaria.
Oh, I thought that was Augustiner.
Ondex.
Oh, Ondex. Of course it's Ondex. Shit, if I had an Ondex.
You were dancing, dude.
Yeah.
You were there.
You were, I mean, you were circling.
Ondex is such a great fucking brewery, too.
Well, so I came to the Bay Area. I moved into the Western Addition, and then there was a beer garden that served liters of beer down the street, and they would get Keller, like Vollbier Ondex Helles.
Yeah,
I would go there, and it was super fresh for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's made such an imprint on me outside of Germany, but in the Bay Area, that it became a little bit of my je ne sais quoi. And look, there are great brewers in the Bay Area. There's amazing beer being produced. We all can use the same yeasts.
Yeah.
So it's one way I really like to differentiate.
So good.
Even with the West Coast IPAs, I look, there's Cal Ale, which is an amazing yeast strain. It's robust and it makes awesome raw material forward beers. And there are other really cool ale strains that can express differently. So it's a way that I always try to find something new and different and differentiate it. Because look, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 brewers, doesn't really matter. I want someone to drink a pint and have it be like, that's great, and I don't exactly know why. And it's not because it's Rawaka, or it's not because they lot selected the best
There's just
XYZ.
something.
There's
Yeah.
something there.
Yeah.
And so that's always been my little
Well done.
my little take.
Yeah, so kudos to Ryan for sure.
Yeah.
Like, this was the first beer that I came on to, and this kind of introduced me to how Ryan is as a brewer. So.
Yeah. It's a great
sure.
philosophy to find that little separation point, especially with a beer like this, right? Because you can't hide anything, like you said.
Absolutely.
So if your differentiator is A, that you can do it right, because that's a differentiator. But B, you chose a yeast like that. Oh yeah. All right, let's do the IPA before we run out of time. So we've done lagers all show long, but of course you got to have an IPA. What's the name of this IPA? Because I can't remember.
It's a horrible name, and
Who named it?
I named
Austin?
it. No, I actually.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Elon Musk. It's not my first child.
I just got that, Justin. That took me a second.
Sorry.
Because the name is like half letters, half numbers.
RND01. I mean, we're in the Bay Area. People know what R&D is, I hope, but it stands for Research and Development.
Sure.
01. You could imply that it may be the first attempt at something.
Or just the number one. Because we're the best.
Right, yeah.
Hoorah.
All right, West Coast IPA, though.
West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
We're all going to be
Oh,
quiet.
the aroma's amazing.
Well, you also said you kind of like the diesel, so.
Yeah, well, diesel dank and a little fruit in there,
There you
too.
go.
Or stone fruit.
That's the balance.
All right, tell me about the beer.
So 6.1, we're working for something here. There's an end target, and I'm not allowed to say too much because Austin will. He's not a violent person. He's a pacifist. Yeah, he's not going to punch me, but he may gently nudge me not to say too much.
Yeah.
We have a really fun partnership coming up that is going to be announced in the next few weeks. And I've been working some West Coast IPAs, and then luckily Justin Felix has come on, and we've gone over the recipe, and we're kind of looking at each other. We're like moving a couple of dials. So Lafayette gives us the opportunity to try to dial some of these beers in. This was R&D 01. The hops leading are bittered with Bravo. And then we're finishing in a Whirlpool and then with dry hop with Idaho 7 and HBC 586.
Okay.
So kind of fun, cool hops. Idaho 7 was really hot, back in 2016, 2017, 18, 19.
I love that hop.
It's a fun hop. It's rad. I've made some beers earlier this year where I'm like, it's singing to me a little bit, and I want to offset it with a little bit of that fruitiness.
Yeah.
So we've had some fun folding in some HBC 586. And been able to secure like some nice lots of this hop.
There's a little bit of lime in the fruitiness. Did you get lime?
No, I am. And what's fun about this is actually we thought we were going to end up on the show, and we had a keg left at the tap room. And I went in, I'm like, this is for the Brewing Network.
Okay, nice.
And it's fun to taste this beer like a week and a half, 2 weeks, because it would have been gone a week and a half ago, but we held it for 10 more days, and just seeing how these hops are migrating and interplaying. That first pour is a little more diesel. It's got a little bit more of that gassiness.
Yeah.
The fruitiness is a little subdued. As it sits in your glass, you are getting some of these fun tropical fruit, citrus flavors, and you're pulling out lime and things like that. So, but look, it's very dry. It is a Pilsner base. We are not using Cal Ale, and I won't share this yeast strain. You got to have one secret, right?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
With this yeast and with these hops and with this nice clean malt base, it's just kind of. I've been drinking a lot of West Coast IPAs in the Bay Area, and I've always played in the pool that no one else was playing in, with the lagers and like the Belgian Abbeys and the saisons and grisettes and all these fun, eclectic, cool styles that are near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to some of the greats out there right now. I'm like, man, I drink their beer all the time. I want to order one of those and one of mine, kind of back to back.
Yeah.
And taking notes from people who really know their shit.
And there's. I was going to say there's a lot. There's not. There's a handful, especially around the Bay. There's a ton of good beer in the Bay. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But what you just described, the folks who just really know what they're doing, you can always order their beer on tap and know that you can take notes. There's only a handful, right?
Yeah.
So do it.
Yeah. Well, and I was able to buy some of their hops, and I'm like standing on a new brew deck with a cat, Justin from Ghost Town, and
great brewer.
Great brewer, and he's done so much. He's paid his dues. He's been around the way for so long.
Absolutely.
And we're just bouncing ideas off each other, and I'm like point blank. I'm like, dude, you know me. You know what I brew. I brew a ton of lagers. I'm like, talk me through West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
And so just to hear his, not that I'm going to do everything that he's kind of laying out,
Sure.
but he gives me his thought process and overlaying it with some of the greats like Sully. You know, I go back to my homebrew recipes and I realized they were so heavily influenced by Sean O'Sullivan from the fucking Brewing Network.
Heck yeah.
You know.
By the way, one of the first to can beers in all of the Bay Area too.
Yes, we
Not
can.
just his, exactly. Not just his recipes and his IPAs, but to get on the can wagon before anybody did.
I mean, a lot.
He invented the can wagon in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. It was Oscar Blues and Sully, pretty much.
Yeah.
So and Nico. So, it's cool to just continue to, and that's what's great. You know this. Brewers talk about all this all the time. The sales guys, maybe sometimes they get a little competitive, but brewers one-on-one, like,
just discuss it.
we just want to riff, and we all want everyone to make better beer because I want to drink someone else's beer that's better than mine so I can then try to make a beer better than theirs.
Totally.
And if the industry continues to do that, there will be fun and exciting things for you to talk about for the next 10 years.
I hope so.
And if people
I
get
need that.
complacent, and it's just kind of like, oh, well, we got to have 17 hazies and one saison. It's like, it's like kind of
depends on who's buying that week.
Well,
but
yeah, exactly. So,
well, if RND 01 is just the first version, you fucking nailed it already. It's pretty good, right?
Wait.
Like, is RND 02 even?
Dude,
Justin, are you going to name the
wait,
next one,
bro.
though?
Huh?
Are you
Yeah.
going to name the next one?
Yeah. Ryan's off.
Maybe.
Ryan's fired.
We'll see
It's
what's
not going to
going
be
on.
RND 02, RND 03. Actually, at the Lafayette Tap Room, it works. That's
can do anything you
totally
like.
Yeah,
fine.
it's 6
It's
kegs.
just you just don't want it on a can on the shelf.
you do not. No, you do not.
But I would go if I'm going into Lafayette and I see that name in your defense. I'm buying that beer.
But it was funny because I told Austin what I was going to name it, and it had just the initials of potentially a new launch that may or may not be coming out in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
right. Yeah.
and Austin's like, no, that's top secret.
It's
That's
too-
bottle
yeah.
that up, like
Understood.
cut it out. And so we're like, I'm scribbling names off of keg collars after we're racking it because I'm like, we're not allowed to call it.
Right.
Well, I'm also the guy that nixed Send It initially. I'm like, no, we can't call it Send It. It sounds like we just phoned it in. And it may well be the best name we ever came up with. So,
I agree.
Austin, if I wake up tomorrow to some press release of whatever this project is, I'm going to be super pissed.
2 weeks.
That you didn't give me the scoop. 2 weeks?
Less
All
than 2 weeks.
I can accept 2 weeks.
10/27, I think, is the date
Okay.
you want to be
Okay,
looking for.
maybe
Another month.
maybe
I
not.
can accept that. I've had the worst. So, do you remember when Lagunitas sued Sierra Nevada over
Yes.
like the use of the IPA font?
Yeah.
That fucker from Lagunitas was on this show the night before.
Well, you had Tony McGee sitting here.
Tony sat in your seat, and 12 hours later, when I woke up, he's suing Sierra Nevada, and I was like, "You fucker."
Like a
You're not gonna
45-minute session we could have had.
You couldn't give me that scoop. We ended in the middle of the night. Like, who was going to hear it?
Yeah, me. I probably was listening.
Yeah, this guy to
and
my
taking.
right
I saw
over
my
here.
notepad out, and I
Yeah.
was like 40 beers deep, and still taking
So
notes.
it could have been a good thing.
Yeah. All right. So I'll accept several weeks. That's fine.
Cool.
But if I wake up tomorrow, you're never invited back.
It will not. Well, unless just I don't know.
I told Austin that you've been dying for scoops, so I prepped him on the car ride over here.
Right. It's if we
Ryan
weren't-
was telling me he was going to bring his medal.
Oh,
I don't know.
So I was a recipient of Drunk of the Week.
Oh my gosh!
And-
Really?
And I literally carried.
fan.
I carried my medal in my backpack for 13 years, and then I cleaned out my backpack like 4 months ago, and it's in my fucking nightstand.
It's in the. You know, it's.
I was gonna just wear my Drunk of the Week medal just to see if you noticed it.
I probably would have, and I'm glad you didn't tell me in advance, because I would have gone scouring for the recording. I would have played it.
That's why I couldn't let you do it. I think it may have involved nefarious photos.
That's
and
amazing.
Other fun shenanigans.
I love
when
it.
I was a young and dumb homebrewer.
Look, Drunk of the Week, which we eliminated years ago on the Brewing Network, it's one of those things that, you're not really proud of, both for us and for those who won it. But it is part of your life, and it's part of your growth as a human. And I don't, in other words, I don't regret any Drunk of the Week we ever did. I think it was a hilarious segment that we did for years. But it certainly was time to move on. when we finally.
I know. I was.
It's like a yearbook photo.
But it
Ryan's
was so
grown
fu-
up now.
You can look at it.
I
and it's
grew
fine.
up, but I tried so hard. I mean, I kept calling in like week after week.
Oh,
after
no,
week,
you were going for
and
it.
I was like, man, I'm never quite checking the box. Like, what's it gonna take? It was
We were
fun.
sticklers there for a while. You really had to go out of
The
your
phone
way.
lines were deep. There was one
Right.
time I was so lit and I never got through. And I woke up the next day
Dialed
and
the
I was
wrong
like,
on
number.
I
the
was like-
patio.
I was like, oh, did I win? Did I win?
You're waiting for the archive.
Yeah, I was waiting for the archive that came up like 4 months later. And
You're making my night right now. This is great.
no, but I did. I listened through and I'm like, man, I didn't get through.
Well, I'm glad. Hey, you eventually got your medal.
I did.
Hard
Thank you.
work pays off.
Yeah, you know what? There's GABF, but what they don't give out anymore are Drunk of the Week medals.
That's right. And you have a very limited run. We only ever made one batch of Drunk of the Week medals.
Yes.
So look at you. Don't throw that thing
Bring
away.
No,
it back.
If you're
Bring
ever...
it back. Bring it back. Because I need to beat Ryan.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for coming on the show and sharing this beer with us. It's all fantastic. I think you guys have a bright future, and I'm happy to help spread the word. You can go to, what did I say? Headlandsbrewing.com to follow along and track their progress. I think, is there like a beer finder there? People can figure out where to buy it?
Yeah, we got a beer finder, and we're launching another one with this new secretive product that Ryan won't tell anybody about.
Right.
If I had a few more drinks,
It's all his
Sad.
fault.
it's all over.
What if I guess? It's not a weed beer, is it? Are you getting into the cannabis beer thing?
It's the partnership that's going to be
guess.
pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a fun partnership.
It's a really, really fun partnership.
All right, well, send me the press release.
We will.
I'd love to help promote it.
Thank you.
I also want to come back to you guys don't know, but I've done my own R&D at the Lafayette Tap Room. Beautiful, beautiful place. Love to come have a beer with you guys next time.
Please.
I won't be on
Send it.
Won't be on the down low. Yeah, when does Send It release?
So
Is it-
actually, I mean, we brought in 3 half barrels on Thursday. We kicked a half Thursday, Friday, Saturday wasn't even on tap Sunday.
Get it before it's gone.
so you guys are busy down there.
They
yeah, dude.
moving some beer.
That's
I mean,
great.
it's moving the needle for the Lafayette beer scene, I think.
I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, go to headlandsbrewing.com and you can check it all out. Great guys, great beer, great people, I should say, and happy to have you guys on the show. Thanks for bringing out all the beer.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Justin.
That's a ton. Thanks,
Spend
Justin.
time with us. All right, don't forget a couple of things coming up. I will be streaming the Great American Beer Festival Awards on Saturday, October 8th. By the time you hear this podcast, they're probably over, to be honest with you. But you can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Brewing Network, and you can watch it all there. Also, Hop Grenade Pale Fest, Saturday, November 5th. There's a ticket link to buy them on the brewingnetwork.com and thehopgrenade.com. It's right here at the Hop Grenade, and we're looking for the best American Pale Ale, and you get to vote. It's a People's Choice Award. So check it out and come out here and vote for your best American Pale Ale. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Take care of yourselves and your beer.